So, The Power of Awareness by Neville Goddard. This book is really showing you who you are and the power that you have. Part of that power is decreeing that I am that I am. I know who I am and I know that the power is within me. And by claiming that, decreeing that, and knowing that, yeah, I look within instead of looking outside at the external world. For majority of us, and for myself included, for the longest time, I've always felt like true happiness, true power is attained outside of myself. It's attained through the things that you get, whether it's title, job, money, accolades, validation. Through the power of awareness, Neville is really shining the light back onto yourself. Instead of shining the light outwards and looking at in front of you, it's shining the light back within you onto you so you can see that the power resides within you. Once you're aware of that, you can look within and really bring forth anything that you want. One of the quotes from this book is, I am that I am. Exodus chapter 3, verse 14. It's saying that I am is the first substance. It is the foundation that everything rests. It is the essence. And when you understand that you are part of source and source is part of you, you realize that you carry the potential for the Christ vibration. And then by doing so, you can bring into form what you desire. Therefore, when one decrees himself as I am, they are claiming a knowingness of their being. They're finally at this realization that I have the power to bring forth what I truly desire. It's a matter of always looking within. It's always been a matter of looking within. And when you understand that you are one with the Christ frequency, you understand that you are part of source and source is a part of you. Thus, when one claims themselves as I am, what they are saying is I am one with the Creator. And I understand this. And the understanding of this allows me to bring my creations into form. Neville goes on to say, I am is that reality to which, whatever happens, we must turn for an explanation of the phenomena of life. It is I am's concept of itself that determines the form and scenery of its existence. Therefore, whatever happens in your life, whatever you experience, people, places, and circumstances that are brought to your reality and how you experience your reality, we must understand that I am you have brought those creations to form. So it's not to look to others for an explanation as to why are these things coming into my life? Why do these things continue to repeat themselves? Why do these challenges, obstacles, and issues continue to, resurface? Rather, it's about looking inwards and saying, what and why am I creating these things? What is the lesson that I need to learn? What is the obstacle that I need to overcome? What is the limiting belief that I need to look at? And once I understand that and I take my attention away from the outside world and I look within, I'll realize that I have the potential to change these things. And this is why it's so empowering. Neville says, it's I am's concept of self that determines the scenery of your existence. How you see yourself, I am fearful, I am weak, I am incapable, will determine the scenery of your existence. And you'll see that there'll be things in your life that correlate to how you feel. When one says, I am strong, I am courageous, I am loving, I am capable, then the scenery of your life will resemble and reflect those things. We often look outside of ourselves and then we experience life through the lens of the five senses. And then we say, because of these things, this is why I feel this way. And what we have to understand is this is how we impress things on the outside world. I am's concept of self will determine the scenery of your life, meaning soon as we understand how we view ourselves at a subconscious level, at a deep level, at a spiritual level, once we have line of sight to that, now we can do what we need to do. We can do what's necessary so our life reflects what we truly desire, what we truly want. He never goes on to speak to consciousness, and he says, consciousness is the one and only reality. It is the first and only cause substance of the phenomena of life. Nothing has existence for man save through consciousness he has of it. Therefore, it is to consciousness you must turn, for it is the only foundation on which the phenomena of life can be explained. So what does he mean by this? Because the first cause and substance is consciousness, all that you'll experience in your life is going to be resulting from consciousness. Therefore, what you see in your reality is consciousness projected outwards, right? Everything you experience in reality is going to be various forms of degrees of vibration. And as per the laws of vibration, everything is in motion. Now, when you understand this, you become empowered because you start to understand if consciousness is projected outwards, and this creates the one reality, and you are in control of your consciousness, then you are in control of your reality. And then when you know this, you turn your attention away from the outer world and you turn your attention inwards, right? For most of us, we've been taught from a young age that if the outer world does not feel harmonious, then what we should do is we should go out to the outer world and we should configure it. We should change things. We should push. We should forge the way. But this is not the way it works. It's not about reshaping your outer world by putting in physical effort. Once you understand the concept of consciousness and you understand that consciousness is the first substance and you are responsible for creating, you are the creator. And once you understand that your consciousness has the power to mold your reality, you start to put your focus on your consciousness because you understand that through this process of raising your consciousness, you can mold your reality to how it suits you. You know, Neville talks about being transformed. He says, be transformed by renewing your mind. Neville talks about transformation through the mind. He's quoted as saying, be transformed by renewing your mind, right? It's in renewing of one's mind that one's experiences become transformed, right? It's in one's mind that we hold the image of ourselves. How we see ourselves, the vision that we have for ourselves is in one's mind. Therefore, it's through holding an image of the wish fulfilled that we begin to see our world shift and transform. You know, he goes on to say the first step in renewing one's mind is desire. You must want to be different before you can begin to change yourself. Then you must make your future dream a present fact. And you do this by assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled. You know, and this is the process of renewing your mind. Start by having a burning desire for something, right? That desire is going to want you as much as you want it. So if you sit with yourself, you're going to realize what that true desire is, right? But you pick something in your life that you have a burning desire for. Perhaps it's finding a healthy relationship, or it's, you know, doing a job that is emotionally and financially fulfilling. Next, take the desire and make your future dream a present fact, right? So it's not about wishing for something, but it's about feeling that desire as if you own it today. When you make it present, you imagine yourself having that desire today. And this is what Neville means when he says, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. How would it feel to have that desire today, to own it, to feel it, to embody it, to achieve it? You take your attention off the way you see yourself today, because in order to change, you must make your future dream a present fact, right? So you may look at your reality today via the five senses and you'll feel that it doesn't resemble your desire, but know that that's okay. Look beyond the five sensory experiences and always bring your attention back to the state you desired. This is what he means when he says living in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, living as if you have it, you are attaining it, and you embody it today. You know, Neville goes on to say, you know a thing mentally by looking at it from the outside, by comparing it with others, by analyzing it, by defining it, whereas you know a thing spiritually only by becoming it. Because we live through the lens of our five senses, we often use our five senses to understand things. But when it comes to spirituality, it's about a knowingness. It's about seeing beyond the limitations of the five senses and aligning with a higher knowing. Therefore, to embody the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you have to move past the five sensory state into a multi-sensory state, a multi-sensory state that looks beyond the five senses. And as Neville says, it's to die from your old disempowering beliefs and to rise to a more empowering belief, right? A shift in consciousness is to die from one state and to be awakened to another. To become a thing is to die to the old self and assume that you already are what you want to be. So when Neville talks about desire, he says the only fate governing your life is the fate determined by your own concept of your own assumptions. For an assumption, though false, if persisted, will harden into fact. Meaning, if you begin to take the journey inwards, you'll begin to understand that consciousness is the first substance, and consciousness is responsible for creating your reality, right? It's not about hard work, but it's about consciousness. Therefore, it's imperative that you pay attention to where your assumptions lie, because If you believe your assumption to be true or you believe your assumption to be false, regardless of the case, whatever you believe will be hardened into fact, and this is what you are experiencing your reality. Therefore, it's important that you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled at all times. Regardless of what you're experiencing in your reality, you have to hold the feeling of the wish fulfilled until your assumption has this vividness of reality, right? You have to imagine you have to imagine that you are already experiencing what you desire. Neville states that you must assume the feeling of the fulfillment of your desire until you are possessed by it, and the feeling crowds all other ideas out of your consciousness. We have to hold the feeling that we desire in our consciousness so it's impressed at a subconscious level, so that all we focus on is that desire, so that whether or not we experience it in our reality, we don't allow that to distract us, because our reality is what we envision. Our reality is the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Our reality is what we imagine for ourselves. As Neville states, the man who's not prepared for the conscious plunge into the assumption of the wish fulfilled and the fate that it will that in the fate that it is the only way to realize his dream is not yet ready to live consciously by the law of assumption. The key to manifesting your desire is maintaining the feeling of the wish fulfilled and holding that state. See yourself in the new role, in the new position, with people congratulating you on the job, telling you that it was a job well done. They're congratulating you for your achievements. See yourself shaking hands with people, preparing your thank you speech. If it's a relationship, see yourself with your family, having dinner together, everyone saying grace together. Feel the comfort of the room, the couch, the food, how that tastes in your mouth. Use all your senses to create the feeling and make sure that feeling is so vivid that it feels real. You want that feeling to become so real that it becomes a burning desire, that you are possessed by it. It feels so real that you can taste it. And this is the only way to create. When you come to understand this, that any other way to create is futile, because whether you are conscious of this or not, you create from within, not from without. As Neville stated, it is I am's concept of self that is projected outward in the scenery of his life. And when you know this and you accept this as part of your being, you'll never look at the outside world the same again. You'll realize the magnitude of your true power, and you'll begin to live a life with more harmony and flow. The drama of life is a psychological one in which all the conditions, circumstances, and events of your life are brought to pass by your assumptions. Since your life is determined by assumptions, you are forced to recognize that the fact that you are forced to recognize the fact that you are either a slave to your assumptions or their master. It's necessary for one to become master of their assumptions. One who's aware of their assumptions will see how their assumptions are being played out in the drama of their life. If one's life is not congruent with what they desire, they can always go within and change their assumptions. It's only when you change your assumptions that you will see that life will draw towards you the people, places, and circumstances that will reflect the assumptions that you have for yourself. To master your assumptions is to know what you believe at a subconscious level. We attract what we are, not what we want. So if you want something or you desire something, you must assume it to be true. So many of us have goals and desires, but we often focus our attention on the wanting behind the desire. And that wanting reinforces lack. It highlights what's missing out of our lives. Thus, the key to mastering your assumptions is to assume today, this moment, that you are what you assume to be. And we do this by first imagining ourselves fulfilling our desire, concentrating on the feeling that you are already that person that you desire to be. First, visualize and imagine in your consciousness what you desire to have. Then feel yourself in that state. As Neville stated, you must assume the feeling of the fulfillment of your desire until you are possessed by it. And this feeling crowds all other ideas out of your consciousness. The challenge that most people have is they lose focus when they're trying to maintain the image of their desire. Their imagination is not controlled and their feeling is not steady, so they lose focus of what they want. Another challenge that most people have is they are a slave to their assumptions. So they tend to assume the worst case scenario. We encounter things in our five sensory experiences that are not aligned with our desires. So we start to believe this to be fact. And as you said, the drama of life is a psychological one in which all the conditions, circumstances, and events in your life are brought to pass by your assumption. Therefore, the events, is Neville stated, the drama of life is a psychological one in which all conditions, circumstances, and events of your life are brought to pass by your assumptions. Therefore, we must pay attention to our assumptions, whether you believe them or not, and know that the events in your life should not determine your beliefs, but rather it's your beliefs and your assumptions that determine how the events in your life will be played. As Neville talks about focus, it's knowing that we really need to make sure we maintain a focus on what we desire. To think of several things or to lose track of what we're focusing on can leave a scattered mind. Where does your attention go? And that's imperative to what you create. A double minded man is unstable in all ways, meaning to have scattered thoughts is to lose your attention, right? If you desire something, but you also doubt that you can achieve it, you're going to have scattered thoughts, right? You're going to be at a crossroads. It's to be uncertain, right? As they said, a double minded man is unstable in all his ways. So, unintentionally, when you're undecided, you impress this on your subconscious, and what it's impressed will be expressed in your outside world. Therefore, it's about identifying where do you have limited beliefs so you can begin to remove them. And as we remove them, we focus our attention on the actions that are in congruence with what we desire, right? The more vivid our imagination is, the greater the chances we have to solidify what we want and bring it into form. Neville goes on to say, the attentive attitude involves selection, for when you pay attention, it signifies that you have decided to focus your attention on one object, one state, rather than another. Therefore, when you know what you want, you must deliberately focus your intention on the feeling of the wish fulfilled until that feeling fills your mind and crowds all other ideas out of your consciousness. Right? The key to success is having the ability to deliberately focus your attention on what you imagine and having the ability to focus on the feeling of the wish fulfilled. If you are able to hold your imagination and feeling of the wish to the point where that image reflects your reality, you are on your way to producing the images into form. And here's some practices that you can try to help solidify holding that image, holding that imagination, and making sure that you keep your attention focused on what you desire. Night after night before you drift off to sleep, try to hold your attention on the activities of the day in reverse order. Focus your attention on the last thing you did, that is getting into bed, and then move backwards in time until you reach the first event of the day, getting out of bed. And this will greatly help in developing the muscle of your attention. Your attention must be developed, controlled, concentrated in order to change the concept of yourself successfully. Attention is developed by repeated exercise or habit. Through habit, action becomes easier, and this creates the faculties that can be put to higher uses. Neville says, what you see when you look at something depends not so much on what is there as on the assumption you make when you look. What you believe to be the real physical world is actually only assumptive. What you believe to be the real physical world is actually only an assumptive world. Your assumptions determine what you see, what you do. You have thoughts, and these thoughts are impressed on your subconscious and the conscious mind. And that's impressed on your subconscious and expressed and manifest into reality. The way our hands mold clay into form is the way your assumptions mold your experiences into reality. Therefore, what we want to do is become crystal clear on what we desire, hold the image, and attach a feeling of that wish fulfilled. Make sure you assume the situation to be the way you desire it to be. Note that the law of assumption does not discriminate. So if you desire something, but you assume you can't have it, you won't receive it. We want to open up our hands to be and receive. Oftentimes, there's a discrepancy between what we want and what we believe we can achieve. And if you look back at your life and all the things that you've ever wanted, ask yourself if you felt worthy and deserving of those goals. Or were there things that you desired, but you felt perhaps I can't have them or I don't deserve them? Because the moment that we assume the worst of the situation, the moment we have doubts, fears, and limited beliefs, we are bringing those assumptions, those negative assumptions into form. Therefore, it's imperative to audit yourself. What type of mental conversations are you having with yourself and others? When you speak about your goals, does your attitude reflect one of positive assumptions or one of negative assumptions? Right? Again, this is where the work really requires us to be honest with ourselves and take inventory of our shortcomings. And as we identify the areas in our life that we need work, we can replace these negative thoughts, these gaps, with more positive beliefs. There's been times in my life where I really wanted a certain goal or certain outcome, but I was afraid of how it would look if I failed. So having that fear of failure is also bringing in fear. You're creating from a place of fear. This is the thing that we want to really highlight. Oftentimes, you'll hear people say, well, the fear motivated me. To some extent, I understand the concept behind it, but we can also replace that fear and say the positivity motivated me. The desire motivated me. The feeling of the wish fulfilled motivated me. Seeing the best outcome possible motivated me. We need to understand that once we allow fear to come in, doubt, fear, limited beliefs, hesitation, that it becomes part of our foundation. And what we want to do is we want to remove those limited beliefs, have a line of sight and see what they are, remove them, replace them with positivity, and create from that space. Because again, our assumptions, they don't discriminate. If you plant negativity, doubt, and fear, you will reap what you sow. And this goes back to the idea of everything boils down to the concept of yourself. How you view yourself and how you hold yourself will determine what you bring towards yourself. Neville goes on to say, do not go seeking that which you are, appropriate it, claim it, assume it. Everything depends on your concept of yourself. That which you do not claim as true of yourself cannot be realized by you. You cannot realize something if you don't see it, right? So it's imperative that we claim it and own it. There's no need for us to look outside for something that's already exists. But if we do not see that it exists, we'll never claim it to be true. I am that I am. You know, to claim a thing is to know that you are that thing. And this is the process of bringing things into form. One must realize that they are responsible for what they want in this world. And when they realize this, they move the focus off of relying on their external circumstances. When you look outside of yourself, you look to money, you look to the job or the title or validation from others. We're in the process of constantly seeking, chasing, looking. But when you know the answer lies within, you begin to claim yourself to be that which you are. I am successful. I am opulent. I am courageous. I am confident. I am that I am. And when you assume yourself to be that thing, it places you in the spirit of that thing. And then you bring your assumption into form. Neville refers to this as the bridge of incidents, where you start to see that things come to life to help you achieve your goal. The way this works is your assumptions place you psychologically where you are not physically. Neville refers to this as the bridge of incidents, where you start to see that all things come into form that are meant to help you along the way, along your journey towards your desired state. The way this works is your assumptions place you psychologically where you are not physically. And then your senses pull you back from where you are psychologically to where you are physically. And this is how we bridge the gap. This is the bridge of incidents that brings you from where you are to where your desired state is. In my Father's house, there are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go prepare a place for you. And if I go prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself. And where I am, there ye may be also. John chapter 14, verse 22. The I in this quotation is your imagination. I go prepare a place for you in my imagination. I imagine myself in my desired state, and I assume that to be true. I prepare that state in the future, in the present, right? Mansion is the state desired, feeling of the wish fulfilled. Thus, you go and prepare yourself by imagining yourself in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Then you move forward through a series of events, people, places, and circumstances. This is the bridge of incidents, bringing you from where you are physically to where you imagine yourself to be, right? As it says, if I go prepare a place for you, I will prepare it again and receive you onto myself so you may be physically where I imagine you to be. And this is how it works. Your assumptions place you psychologically where you are not physically. Then your senses pull you back from where you are psychologically to where you are physically. When we hold the image of ourselves and we imagine ourselves in our feeling of our wish fulfilled, we have a desire. That desire comes to you. It's meant for you. It wants you as much as you want it. So, regardless of what's happening in your current state, you imagine that desired state. You imagine having your life play out the way you want it to be, living the life that you want, with the family that you want, with the job that you want. And that's a burning desire that you hold for yourself. And it can be entrepreneurship, it can be family, whatever the case may be. And you hold that burning desire and you practice that and you remove any limited beliefs, doubts, and fears and limitations. And anything that shows up in your reality that's not congruent with that, it's okay. You take what you need to take to learn. You remove any limited beliefs, but you hold and maintain the feeling of the wish fulfilled. As you hold the feeling of the wish fulfilled and you hold the image of what you desire, you'll notice people, places, and circumstances that are going to help you bridge you from where you are physically to where you desire to be. And as I prepare a place for me in my Father's house, there are many mansions. You are preparing a place for yourself. You can see how the place looks, how it feels to be in that space, how it feels to hold that entrepreneurship, how it feels to be in that relationship. You are preparing a place because in your Father's house, there are many mansions. And once you prepare that place and the place is prepared, through the Spirit, it will bring you physically where you are physically to where you were psychologically and where you imagined yourself to be. This is the process of how we create. It's aligning with the spirit of the vision. As you align with the spirit of the vision, you're pulled from where you currently are, from where you desire to be. Your imagination is able to do all that you ask in proportion to the degree of your attention. All progress, all fulfillment of desire depend upon your control and concentration of your attention. Attention is attracted from without when you are consciously with the external expression of the immediate present. Your attention is directed from within when you deliberately choose what you will be preoccupied with mentally. It's to imagination that we must turn if we want to create what we want to experience in our reality. But the degree in which one is successful with this depends on your ability to maintain the controlled and concentrated attention of your vision. Be attentive to what takes your attention. Be attentive to what pulls your attention. You are able to place ask yourself, are you able to place your attention on what you want? Or does your attention get pulled into things that are not congruent with your desire? Take, for instance, the outer world. The outer world is constantly fighting for your attention through marketing, through advertising. We're consumed with so much information, social media, etc. Therefore, it's important to discern. It's important to discern what you take in and what you allow your subconscious to be exposed to. Does the information you digest instill fear, doubt, insecurity? Does it program you to believe that life is hard? Does it reinforce your limited beliefs? When your attention is in the outer world, your attention is at the mercy of the external influences. But when you filter where you place your attention, you discern where, you start to understand that when you intentionally place your attention on what you desire, you will create that which is in line with your higher self. It's really just taking the time to see where your attention goes. There's so many things that fight for our attention. We want to live out and fulfill our desires, but at the same time, how much of your time during the day is pulled away from your desire? If you were to audit your distraction, what distracts you throughout the day? Take inventory of what distracts you. Take inventory of the type of information that you're taking in, the books that you're reading, the television that you're watching, the movies, the media, the noise. Do they instill fear? Do they tell you that it's impossible, it's going to be difficult to attain your desires? It's going to be hard. There's always two sides to look at things. Some people will say relationships are hard and marriages end in divorce and entrepreneurship is difficult. And that's one way to view things, to look at things and digest things. Others will say that, they're an anomaly. They're part of the few that made it. They're doing really well. They have a very loving, happy relationship. What information do you choose to allow in your subconscious? What information do you choose to believe? Know that the information is just noise. You discern, you filter it. Whatever you give your attention to is what you're going to plant and that's going to grow. So, as we're looking at what Neville said here, it's really about understanding if the information I'm receiving is not aligned with my desire, I choose not to allow that information in. I choose not to be part of that ecosystem. I choose not to allow that information to flood my mind and impress on my subconscious. Rather, I choose to hold information that's empowering, that's aligned with my beliefs and aligned with my desires. I choose to surround myself with people who have the same thoughts as me, because those people will encourage me and they'll empower me. And by surrounding myself with like minded people that hold my vision, I will bring forth everything that I desire for myself. However much you seem to be living in a material world, you are actually living in a world of imagination. The outer physical events of life are the fruit of forgotten blossom times, results in previous and unusual forgotten states of consciousness. Once we grasp the idea that what we create is primarily in our subconscious, we begin to analyze and look at five sensory data differently, right? Because we realize that even if the five sensory data denies our assumptions, it's probably because of past experiences that are now coming into form and into fruition. When you see that life is incongruent with what you want, it's often based on past experiences and limited beliefs that were impressed on the subconscious and now are being expressed as your reality. And when you know this, that's the most important part, because you can go back in and you can change things that need to be changed. So you can remove the limiting beliefs and put more empowering beliefs in your subconscious so that you start to experience that in your external world. You start to do things that are aligned with your desires. And then when we realize that we have the power to do this as well, it becomes empowering because we know that it's not our external circumstances that shape our reality, but it's our beliefs and what we instill inside that really shape what we experience in our outside world. Right. So we always often say, do not get discouraged by what shows up in your five sensory world. Perhaps it comes from limited beliefs. Perhaps it comes from past experiences. Perhaps it comes from the ways that you used to see things. Perhaps if you allowed limited beliefs to come in that you focused on. Either way, to see something that's not congruent with what you desire is not a reason to deter you from where you'd like to go. All it is it's bringing something to your attention. And now that you have the knowledge, you're able to park and pivot. You're able to clean up what you need to so you can continue moving in the direction that aligns with your desires. Neville says, assume the spirit of the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and you will have opened the window to receiving your blessings. The process of creating is holding space for acceptance. To desire without accepting is to be in wanting, right? It's to be in searching for something, needing something. It offers a state of lack. But to desire and assume the spirit of the wish fulfilled is to open the window for receiving your blessing. It says, I'm ready to receive it, and I know that I will receive it. I may not know when, I may not know how, but that's not my job to know. My job is to believe that it will come, right? So it's really about striking a balance between wanting something and knowing that you will receive it, that it's already here. And accepting it before you receiving it is maintaining the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Again, now the central points to the law of assumptions is first a desire. Have a yearning, longing, intense burning and desire for what you want. As you hold that desire, you're holding that feeling of the wish fulfilled. It talks about righteousness is the consciousness of already being what you desire, meaning hold the feeling of what you desire, know that you will achieve it, and that is that feeling of righteousness. Second is cultivate the physical immobility. Second is cultivate physical immobility. Bring yourself to a state akin to sleep. It's called the theta state. So before you go to sleep or before you wake, you are at this state, almost dream state. And this is where you want to imagine the feeling of the wish fulfilled. You want to hold the image of what you desire to yourself and pair the feeling of the wish fulfilled so you can solidify the image with the feeling so you can bring it into form. almost called image streaming. So again, as you go to sleep or before you nap, you want to hold this image and take that into sleep or take that into a napping state. And then when you rise and wake up in the morning, you want to do that as well before you start your day and before you're fully conscious. The third thing that you want to do is assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. So as we move through this, we want to hold the feeling of the wish fulfilled and make that feeling so prominent that it feels like it's part of our reality, like you've already achieved your goals. When we talk about righteousness, sin and righteousness, sin is to miss the mark, not to attain your desire, not to be the person you want to be, is to be sinning, is what Neville describes as sinning. Righteousness is the process of already being that which you desire to be. Therefore, only by righteousness can you be saved from sinning. To sin is to not think that I deserve what I want, that I'm not capable of having it, that I feel stuck. Bad things always happen to me, that I'm on the short end of the stick. You look outwards because you feel like you can't do it inwards. Righteousness is knowing that you are what you desire to be. It's the consciousness of already being what you desire to be. And that's how you remove sin, by aligning with righteousness. Forks, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added on to you. All the things that you desire will be added to unto you when you seek the kingdom of God within yourself first. I am that I am. The kingdom of God, I am, is the first substance within you. You have the consciousness to see yourself as already what you desire to be. That is the idea that we want to maintain, and that is the idea that we want to hold for yourself. One of the common challenges and questions that come up for people is, what should I do between the feeling of the wish fulfilled and its realization? You know, what we have to realize is that there's nothing that we can do other than maintain the feeling of the wish fulfilled. But we often become impatient and restless and frustrated. But we have to remember that this process is in an the process is in an incubation period and it's being prepared for us. And there's not much that we can do in that time other than wait for that process to come to fruition. I can of mine own self do nothing, because I seek not mine own will, but the will of the Father which hath sent me. It is not our will as to when what we decide will come into be, but it's the will of the Father. Therefore, one needs to be patient and be present and maintain that feeling. And as you maintain that feeling and what you desire will become into form, right? And as we do this, it's about not allowing anything to derail you, not allow things in your five sensory realm to throw you off, especially if they're not in alignment with what you want. To change your future, deny the evidence of the senses and assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. If you want to change your life, you must change from the inside and not allow the physical world to derail you. If your physical world is incongruent with what you wish for yourself, you just must maintain the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Assumption has its being in complete independence of object fact and will clothe itself in flesh if you persist in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. What you sense in the physical plane through the lens of the five senses may not align with what you desire. Know that this is okay. And as long as you maintain the assumption of the feeling of the wish fulfilled, it's the persistence of your assumption that creates your reality, not the events that occur in the physical plane. And as you hold the feeling of the wish fulfilled, your assumptions your assumptions will clothe themselves in flesh. They will become part of you. You will embody it. They will embrace you and you will embrace them. As long as you maintain the persistent feeling of the wish fulfilled, the process that's naturally transpiring will take place. As you take the journey, prior to taking this journey, things that happened to my life, I might have said that they were fluke or they were based on random experiences. The further that I uncover the power of understanding who you are and bring your desires to fruition, the power of imagination and aligning with your energy and vibration, you realize that you truly are in control of what you bring forth. You are connected with divine intelligence, constantly being guided as divine intelligence, the Christ itself, spirit, wants the best for you. And it's a matter of paying attention to your sign symbols, synchronicities. We all have our ways. You're an antenna, and you just have to tune your radio station so you can hear the frequency, so you can move forward with more grace and more flow and more harmony in your life. We are all meant to have what we desire, and that is the beauty of life. But as you believe, so will it be. So if you believe it to be difficult, it will be difficult. But if you believe that it can be harmonious and graceful, then your life will be harmonious and graceful. You just need to know how to align with the feeling of the wish fulfilled so that you can bring everything to form. And as Neville said, when you know that assumption, if persisted in, hardens into fact, then events which seem so initiated or mere accidents will be understood by you to be logical and inevitable effects of your assumption. Thank you. I hope you appreciated today's piece. Please feel free to comment, like, and subscribe. Thank you very much.